Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now. I'm at the foot of the ladder. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
An ambition once considered foolish was made reality. The human race had done the impossible and took that great leap to open the gates to new realms of space exploration and science. Since this initial accomplishment, many new heights have been reached. But it all stemmed from the legacy of one man, whose cultural and scientific initiatives revolutionized the state of space technology and exploration. Overcoming his controversial past, his engineering ingenuity and charismatic leadership instigated many of the developments that made history. This man was Wernher von Braun. On March 23, 1912, in Wiersitz, Germany, von Braun was born to nobility. In his exuberant youth, he developed a passion in astronomy, leading to his fascination of rocketry and space travel. He attended the Institute of Berlin, later joining the Society for Space Travel, where he began his official career as a promising rocket scientist. But his life would soon take a dramatic turn. Rising to take control over Germany, Adolf Hitler saw potential in von Braun. Due to ambiguities in the Treaty of Versailles, rockets were not classified as weapons under the document's contention, and were therefore allowed to be engineered. Von Braun's passion and skill with his emerging fields earned him a position in the German Army Ordnance Office rocket program in 1932, earning his PhD in physics only 2 years later from the University of Berlin. Leading a specialized team of 80 engineers, von Braun's passions would result in one of the most infamous in history, the V-2 rocket. Capable of being projected from far away, its powerful destruction awed the world.
This doctoral thesis was classified by the Army. And the reason it was classified was it basically told you from the basic theory that had been proposed by other scientists up until then, how to put that together and make a ballistic missile.
But while the Nazis wanted a superweapon, von Braun had other ambitions. His desires were to use these paragons of engineering to delve into the deep unknown. Although he did keep these intentions hidden, there were noted instances of private outcry. This unenthusiasm towards the war led to his imprisonment by the German secret police. Eventually, von Braun was freed from captivity to continue his work on the V-2 rocket. He was promoted to the rank of major in the SS and moved to Peenemünde, where he administered the development of combat ballistics and further enhancements of V-2 with the primary focus of destroying Allied forces. As the tides began to turn against the Axis powers, von Braun shifted his priorities and escaped south with trusted members of his team. Despite explicit orders from the German High Command to destroy any documentation of V-2, von Braun strategically hid the valuable information along with physical models to prepare for his surrender. According to later records, von Braun believed that America was where he would be most likely allowed to pursue his true aspirations. On May 2, 1945, the orchestration of his capture, carried out by the Office of Strategic Services in Operation Paperclip, was the first step into a new world. Von Braun, along with his pioneering research and valuable staff members, were taken by the United States Army. However, von Braun's hopes to shift his attention to space were initially unanswered. America's purpose for his capture was not to enhance exploratory prowess, but rather to enhance military might in light of the imminent Soviet threat. To continue his research, von Braun was relocated to Fort Bliss, Texas. Despite ongoing controversies over his past actions as a major in the SS, there were none that could deny his intellect and the prominence of his work. He was moved to Huntsville, Alabama in 1950, where, under his leadership, his team developed the Redstone rocket, which was used for the first nuclear ballistic missile tests. This was not what he wanted, but he had no other choice than to continue. The American government, along with the public, were extremely dissentient towards any mention of a well-funded space program. In order to promote public opinion for his alternate philosophy on the true potentials of rocketry, von Braun took matters into his own hands.
If we were to start today on an organized and well-supported space program, I believe a practical passenger rocket could be built and tested within 10 years.
In Disney's Man in Space, one of many televised programs that he participated in, von Braun eloquently advertised his ambitious proposals. These programs were estimated to have been seen by 42 million viewers across America. According to NASA historian Mark Wright, von Braun's engineering and managerial expertise contributed to a technological revolution, but his respect for the power of imagination had changed the way America perceived space exploration. Throughout the 1950s and 60s, he publicly advocated for the potential of rocketry to be applied for lunar and interplanetary voyages by giving speeches, performing demonstrations, and writing essays.
I remember all of these people very vividly and how avidly we followed the space race. And then, of course, Dr. von Braun was drawn into this admiration that many Americans had as they gaped in awe at these technological developments. There's a quality to leadership that is very practical, very down-to-earth, people who can get things done. And there's a quality to leadership that kind of transcends that. It's almost charismatic.
He even wrote a novel published in 1953 titled First Men to the Moon, which depicted the fictitious yet scientifically realistic journey of two men who managed to land and conduct research on the moon. According to Wernher's daughter, Margaret von Braun, he believed that exploration was a fundamental need of human beings. He hoped that having a big, common goal to explore beyond our boundaries and to see our own planet from a vantage point like the moon would help people learn to live together in peace. Suddenly, funding from the US government and the faith of the people significantly increased from a small defeat in the form of Sputnik. On October 4th, 1957, the Soviet Union successfully launched the first satellite into space. The necessity to venture upwards became not just a matter of curiosity, but a matter of national security, further spurring both public and political interests. John F. Kennedy was not relenting during the Cold War. Regardless of the first battle being lost, he had bigger ambitions. Ambitions shared with von Braun. And von Braun did not disappoint the public. Equipped with extended amounts of resources and newfound enthusiasm from the people, he progressed further to uncharted territory. Previous plans, such as one regarding an orbital launch vehicle that was proposed and rejected in 1954, were brought back to life. Von Braun's work directly led to the successful launch of Explorer 1 in 1958, the very first satellite that was launched into space by the United States. His pioneering progression led to his promotion to director of the George C. Marshall Space Flight Center.
This is what you should aspire to be, those of you who are scientific-minded. This message was conveyed to us as part of the general admiration for the achievements of the space program.
As von Braun became not only one of the leading engineers, but also leading public figures of science, politicians took extra precautions to cover up his dubious past. However, this did not stop the press from his critiques, marking von Braun as a man that once sold his soul to the devil. As the Washington Post later stated, von Braun shoots for the stars, but sometimes hits London. But none could deny that his work in the US with NASA was the true mark of a new era. As central administrator of the Apollo Applications Program, he explored new and innovative strategies in order to reach for and eventually surpass Soviet technology. Although not without failures, his experiments with lunar orbital propulsions and more powerful engine fuels allowed for various major breakthroughs to occur in rocket efficiency. He was the leader in development of the Saturn rockets, eventually leading to one remarkable accomplishment. On the 20th of July, 1969, America landed men on the moon. After just over 20 years since he arrived in America as a war criminal, he was able to proudly stand as a chief engineer, while America ascended and achieved one of the greatest feats in human history. However, von Braun's ambitions did not cease with this monumental milestone. He set his aspirations higher, to our neighboring red planet. He foresaw a manned trip to Mars, and although we have yet to complete an interplanetary journey, this initial spark of interest has led to the progression that we know of today. The influence of this man truly knew no bounds, from what he has accomplished to the visions that he did not get to live out. Pancreatic cancer claimed von Braun's life on June 16, 1977, but he has not been forgotten. Von Braun had changed the mindset of focusing on the possible, turning the world's attention to a relentless struggle to achieve what was considered to be impossible. And he succeeded, laying the framework for a procession of technological and scientific advancements.
On the one hand, an example of someone who's a great engineering leader, who's a great manager, who was very persuasive in selling space program to the public. And on the other hand, there's also this backdrop of the Nazi issue. But overall, there's no doubt that he was one of the most important space advocates and rocket engineers of the 20th century.
The rocket technology also is on board each satellite. Our whole industry is only there because a rocket took us up into space. So it's kind of an overarching legacy that he has on our industry.
And we need not worry of his name being lost in the annals of time. His legacy is everywhere, from the people he's inspired to the technology that his work has led to. And if that's not enough, we simply turn our heads to the sky.